The failures of peace treaties like the Treaty of Versailles in 1919 and the various Middle East peace negotiations throughout the 20th and 21st centuries offer a profound lesson in how the failure to address underlying tensions can lead to further conflicts. Both historical and contemporary events show that peace agreements are only as effective as their ability to address the root causes of conflict and build lasting solutions. Treaty of Versailles, 1919. And its aftermath. The Treaty of Versailles was designed to bring a definitive end to World War I, but its harsh terms placed on Germany led to a series of unintended consequences. By imposing significant territorial losses, disarmament, and crippling reparations on Germany, the treaty created a climate of economic devastation and national humiliation. This environment became fertile ground for extremist ideologies, particularly the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. They capitalized on widespread discontent, using promises to restore German pride and territorial sovereignty to gain support. The treaty's failure lay not just in its punitive measures, but in its inability to create a framework for European cooperation and security. Instead of fostering reconciliation, the treaty's punitive nature directly contributed to the outbreak of World War II, highlighting the critical importance of addressing both the root causes of conflict and the need for economic stability in peace agreements. The Middle East peace negotiations. Middle Eastern peace negotiations have faced a complex web of historical grievances, religious significance, and colonial legacies. The Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916 was a secret deal between Britain and France to divide the Ottoman Empire's Arab provinces, ignoring the region's ethnic and religious complexities. The agreement created artificial boundaries, fueling a sense of betrayal among Arabs, especially after promises of Arab independence made by Britain during World War I. This sense of betrayal was compounded by the Balfour Declaration of 1917, which supported the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine without consulting the Arab population. These early actions laid the groundwork for decades of conflict, including the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian struggle. Despite numerous peace initiatives, including the Camp David Accords and the Madrid Conference, the region has struggled to achieve lasting peace due to these deep-seated historical grievances and the failure to address key issues such as territorial sovereignty, the right of return, and mutual recognition. Oslo Accords and their legacy. The Oslo Accords in the 1990s were a milestone in the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, representing the first direct, face-to-face agreement between the Palestine Liberation Organization and Israel. However, the accords were fundamentally flawed because they postponed resolving the most contentious issues: borders, Jerusalem, refugees, and settlements, to future negotiations. Over time, the lack of progress on these final status issues led to widespread disillusionment on both sides. The period following the Oslo Accords saw an increase in Israeli settlements in the occupied territories, which many Palestinians viewed as a violation of the spirit of the agreement. The accords also led to the creation of the Palestinian Authority, an interim body with limited powers, which was unable to address the growing frustration and unrest among Palestinians. The failure of the Oslo process not only perpetuated the conflict, but also contributed to the cycles of violence and mistrust that continue to this day. Trump's Middle East Peace Plan. The Trump administration's Middle East Peace Plan, unveiled in 2020, was presented as a deal of the century that aimed to end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict through a combination of economic incentives and territorial compromises. The plan proposed a pathway to economic prosperity for Palestinians, including investments that could double the Palestinian GDP over a decade. However, it was criticized for being heavily skewed in favor of Israeli security and territorial interests, offering Palestinians a fragmented state with limited sovereignty. The plan dismissed long-standing international consensus on key issues, such as the status of Jerusalem and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. While the plan was welcomed by the Israeli government, it was rejected by the Palestinians, who saw it as an attempt to impose a solution without addressing their core demands. The failure of this plan underscored the challenges of achieving peace without mutual agreement and the recognition of each party's rights and aspirations. Current status of Middle East peace efforts. The Middle East remains embroiled in conflict, with the Israeli-Palestinian situation being a focal point of tension. Recent years have seen renewed violence in Gaza, with multiple ceasefire attempts struggling to hold. Humanitarian crises, including attacks on hospitals and a blockade that has left Gaza's health services in ruins, have exacerbated the situation. International mediators, including Egypt, Qatar, and the United States, continue to push for a permanent ceasefire, but deep-seated mistrust and divergent political objectives make this an uphill battle. The broader regional context, including the involvement of external powers like the United States and regional actors like Iran and Hezbollah, further complicates efforts to establish lasting peace. The ongoing conflict demonstrates the difficulty of achieving a comprehensive peace without addressing the complex historical, religious, and geopolitical factors at play. Comparative failures and lessons learned. The failures of both the Treaty of Versailles and Middle East peace negotiations highlight the dangers of peace agreements that focus on punitive measures or ignore the complexities of the issues at hand. Versailles punished Germany without providing a framework for reconciliation, leading to economic hardship and nationalistic fervor. Similarly, many Middle East peace efforts have been criticized for failing to address core issues such as borders, refugees, and mutual recognition. In both cases, peace efforts that do not address the underlying grievances and aspirations of the affected populations are likely to result in further conflict. These examples underline the importance of inclusive dialogue, mutual respect, and a holistic approach that considers the historical and socio-political contexts in which conflicts occur. The importance of addressing core issues. For peace treaties to be effective, they must go beyond mere cessation of hostilities to address the fundamental issues driving the conflict. In the case of the Middle East, key issues include territorial sovereignty, the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for refugees, and mutual recognition of national identities. Similarly, the Treaty of Versailles failed because it did not create a pathway for Germany to rejoin the international community as an equal partner. Instead, it created a sense of injustice and victimhood that extremist elements exploited. Addressing core issues requires courage, compromise, and a commitment to building structures that promote economic, political, and social cooperation. Only by tackling these foundational aspects can peace treaties transform into lasting solutions. The role of external powers. External powers have played a significant role in shaping the outcomes of peace treaties, often prioritizing their geopolitical interests over the needs of local populations. The Treaty of Versailles was driven by the victorious Allied powers, primarily France, Britain, and the United States, each with its agenda for post-war Europe. In the Middle East, foreign interventions have been a constant feature, from the British and French mandates to the United States' role as a mediator in Israeli-Palestinian negotiations. These interventions have often been seen as biased or self-serving, undermining the legitimacy of peace agreements. For a peace process to be successful, it must be led by the parties directly involved, with external actors playing a supportive role rather than dictating terms. The path forward. Despite the historical failures, there remains hope for peace if future negotiations can learn from past mistakes. A successful peace process in any conflict, whether in Europe or the Middle East, requires a framework that acknowledges the legitimate aspirations and grievances of all parties. This includes ensuring economic stability, political autonomy, and security. Additionally, fostering a culture of dialogue and understanding is crucial. Peace-building efforts must involve not just political leaders, but also civil society, including grassroots movements, religious leaders, and community organizations. The goal should be to create an environment where reconciliation is possible, and the next generation can envision a future free from the shadows of past conflicts. That wraps up our deep dive into the failures of peace treaties like the Treaty of Versailles and the ongoing Middle East negotiations. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. What are your thoughts on these historical peace efforts? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.